Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is the ultimate anime cat fight. Yo, welcome back to Sistah Punk Studios. I'm Keisha, and if you like my anime reviews, my New York City vlogs, or my music for my punk family, then go ahead and like and subscribe. For this video, I'm giving y'all another anime matchup with some of the baddest ladies in the anime game, who all come from incredibly iconic anime. I'm talking about Michiko Melandro from Michiko and Hatchin, Faye Valentine from Cowboy Bebop, and Nana Osaki from the anime Nana. And these three are stunning examples of women who have been there, done that, and are deciding their own futures. And on a side note, I gotta emphasize how important it is to actually have representation of older adult women who have continued character development in anime. So many anime are focused on teenagers coming of age and are almost obsessed with the perceived innocence of prepubescent girls. Once a woman is over 20 in anime, they're considered old, when really they're still on their paths to discovering themselves. And they aren't so far removed from the insecurities and pressures of transitioning from adolescence to adulthood. Characters like Michiko, Faye, and Nana have lived and learned through their mistakes. They've been separated from the comfort of their family and homes and learned to fend for themselves. And they've actually experienced true intimacy and heartbreak. But they still maintain their own individual, vibrant desires. I'm just saying that featuring adult women as relevant main characters brings a much needed dose of realism and maturity. And they all have remarkably relatable similarities, even though they come from other sides of the world, and in some cases from a different planet. They're all rugged on the outside, but definitely have their own sense of style. But let me get into their backstories, their personalities, and their strength so I can figure out who would win in a bar fight. So first off, let's get their really dark past out of the way. And let me just go ahead and say there's definitely going to be spoilers involved, but I'm gonna try to focus more on their character development so that way I don't reveal too much of the plot. If you haven't already, go check out my video where I did a full review on Michiko and Hatchin, and I'm telling you this is an incredibly groovy, colorful experience of an anime. The anime follows Michiko, who is a Brazilian hoodlum badass. She's definitely the kind of woman that takes no shit. Even though she has this rash, over-sexualized, and overpowering demeanor, she actually comes from a really lonely past, where she was left to fend for herself as an orphan and struggled to survive in the streets of Brazil. Michiko has dealt with abandonment and poverty, and she constantly puts up a brave face in front of adversity, even if it means putting relationships around her in jeopardy. And she has this tough outer shell from growing up in this environment. And even in the anime, Michiko is constantly on the run from the police, and she lives her life like a total outlaw. But Michiko has an undeniable sass, and what we're able to see in her interactions with Hatchin, her adopted daughter, is that Michiko is able to bring out a new side of herself with Hatchin that desires to nurture and be nurtured. And it appears that even though she tries to distance herself with a bad attitude, that she still desires real bonds and relationships with other people that make her feel valid and wanted. Michiko truly shines when she's teamed up with people who know her best. And when Michiko is fighting for the people that she cares about, you're bound to get an extra load of kick-ass. I love how expressively designed Michiko is throughout the entire anime. And of course, Michiko and Hatchin share a producer with Cowboy Bebop. And whenever Shinichiro Watanabe is behind the scenes, I just know that there's going to be extra depth to every character and setting. And that brings us to Faye Valentine, one of the bounty hunters in Cowboy Bebop. We stumble upon Faye Valentine pretty early in the series in Cowboy Bebop, or rather she stumbles upon our ship. And honestly, her character already seems so similar to Michiko, with that lazy grown woman alcoholic kind of chic. And Faye, just like Michiko, is also wanted by the police. And even though Faye might seem as though she has an incredibly spoiled attitude, she's also trying to escape an incredibly traumatic past and trying to survive against the grain in this futuristic world. And even though Faye Valentine seems worlds away from these characters, she's actually from Earth too. Faye would actually be most relatable to our current generation, because her backstory starts with the beginning of space exploration, which is what expands the Cowboy Bebop universe outside of Earth. And in a stroke of luck, or rather rather misfortune, Faye happened to be on one of the pioneering ships off of Earth that experienced a devastating accident with very few survivors. And what happens to Faye when she's pretty much a teenager is that she's cryogenically frozen so that way she could be healed in the future. And that future is centuries later and the age of Cowboy Bebop. But Faye has a really rude awakening when she's still responsible for the massive amount of medical debt that barely managed to keep her alive. And it doesn't take long before she's obsessed with money and gambling and ends up with a bounty on her own head. And as badass as Faye Valentine may seem from surviving all of this, we see in the way she clumsily maneuvers her relationships with the rest of the crew that she is longing for a safe place after spending so many years with an endless greed trying to fulfill the monetary value of her life. And by being around these characters, she's able to express herself in a new way and find people who she can actually trust. Next up, we have the queen of emotionally dramatic backstories, Nana Osaki. I personally love Nana, she's definitely my kin character, but even I can admit that there are definitely some quirks in her personality from her incredibly dark childhood. We get a glimpse of Nana's early childhood when we learn that she was taken care of by her grandmother after being abandoned by her own mother, who left her for a new guy. Nana ends up being raised in an incredibly strict household, with her grandmother kind of resenting Nana's existence for being abandoned in the first place. So essentially, Nana had to figure out a way to survive on her own very young, especially after her grandmother passed away. She's constantly being bullied for being poor and having a quirky punk style, and avoids having close relationships with anyone until she met Nobu, Ren, and Yasu and started making music together as Black Stones. And once again, we see this repeat of this lonesome character finding a group who accepts them for who they are and truly being able to flourish in that environment. But we also see with Nana a certain level of possessiveness with those who she cares for. Even though she desperately tries to continue to distance herself and follow her own dreams and path, there's still a part of Nana that wants her loved ones to fit neatly in her life as if they were plants in a garden. It's totally clear to see how these three have developed an incredibly hard outer shell to protect their wounded insides from really traumatic pasts. But with Michiko, Faye, and Nana, they're able to find safe places with the other characters in their series. But admittedly, all three of these women are definitely the type that might need a drink or two before they really warmed up to each other. And that brings me to the fun part. If things take a swift left, who's gonna stand out on top? I can definitely say all three of these girls can fight. They can fight and they will fight you. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is the ultimate anime cat fight. I know for sure that Nana can throw a punch, but Michiko fights way too dirty that I'm pretty sure she's gonna rip an ear off. But at the end of the day, it's Faye who's packing the heat, and she's definitely the kind of girl to shoot and run. But as far as ranking their story progression, even though Cowboy Bebop is a longtime classic, and Michiko and Hachin is probably one of the most exciting and diverse representations in anime, I gotta give it to Nana. Okay, I'm back. Let me actually get into this for a minute. Nana has one of the most relatable character progressions for any type of personality, and I'm not just talking about their main characters. I'm talking about even their side characters that are so developed and their own character development are intertwined with everyone else's that it's impossible to separate their experiences from who they are in the present. When it comes to anime like Michiko and Hachin and Cowboy Bebop, most people don't really know what it's like to be a reckless outlaw or a space bounty hunter. I mean, it's cool and it's exciting and it's adventurous, and all of these characters do have some kind of realistic aspects to their development. But what I do know is what it's like to be a girl in my 20s trying to figure my life out. From navigating new friendships and old relationships and troublesome romances, and of course, shameless plug, starting my own band in a big city. Nana's author, Ai Yazawa, has such an insightful feminine lens that demands her characters to confront their drama and conflicts, and maintains their agency while exposing their vulnerabilities. With more than enough style, detailed dialogue, and the best rock and roll soundtrack to rival powerhouse producers like Shinichiro Watanabe. But I know that I'm biased because I'm aware of additional backstory material that occurs in the manga. But that's for a whole other video for you Nana fans. Thanks so much for watching my anime matchup. Leave a thumbs thumbs up and subscribe, and check me out on all my socials, link in the description. Thanks for watching. Peace.